What's up, everyone? Tara Roberts here with Fantasy Pros with my top 10 waiver wire picks for week 6. Before I get into my list, if you want a chance to win a glorious 36-inch fantasy championship trophy for your league, courtesy of our good friends at Trophy Smack, the #1 destination for epic fantasy tournament trophies, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video and that's it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Now let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 10, Rashid Rice. Kansas City wide receivers have been frustrating to roster because ultimately none of them can ever be the top guy for Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce on the team, and Mahomes spreads the ball around fairly evenly across the entire receiving corps, and they could all technically be in play on any given week, but the most optimal player is really anyone's guess. But for a rookie, Rashid Rice has had strong involvement. His snap count has been unreliable, although snap count doesn't necessarily translate to reliability in this offense, but he's seen a decent amount of targets and has multiple touchdowns on the season. Given that he's making this level of impact as a rookie this early, it's reasonable to believe that Rice could continue to progress in this offense and become a more consistent receiver with higher upside as the season goes on. Rice is an excellent bench stash and does have weekly low-end flex appeal for those dealing with bye-week issues. Number 9, Josh Downs. It's not a coincidence that Josh Downs' best games have been in games where Gardner Minshew has played the majority of snaps. In week 3, he had 8 receptions on 12 targets, and in week 5, he had 6 receptions on 6 targets for 97 yards. They just have a good connection, and he just meshes better with Minshew. At the time of filming this video, we don't know how much time, if any, Anthony Richardson will miss. But if Gardner Minshew is leading this team, Downs does have flex appeal. Michael Pittman is still the first look on this team, but Downs is shifty with the ball, and I feel very comfortable with him if we get multiple weeks of Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Number 8, Josh Reynolds. With Amon-Ra St. Brown out, Josh Reynolds took over as the wide receiver 1 and had 4 receptions on 5 targets for 76 yards and a touchdown. Jamison Williams was on the waiver wire list last week, but I was very specific that we needed to add him but not start him. With Williams' talent and pedigree, you want to roster him in hopes of him developing over the season and having a late season breakout that can add big upside for your fantasy team in the playoffs. But it could take him some time to get there. Williams had 2 receptions on 3 targets for 2 yards. You have to remember that he had very little usage last season and missed the entire offseason of his rookie season rehabbing his injury. Then this year, he missed most of training camp yet again after suffering a hamstring injury and then the suspension. So he really does need some time to grow. And Dan Campbell was very clear that he would be eased in. In the meantime, we shouldn't overlook Josh Reynolds and the fact that he is a valuable part of this Detroit offense and has a fantastic connection with Jared Goff. He is worth a roster. Number 7, Logan Thomas. If you are in need of a tight end, Logan Thomas has scored a minimum of 7 fantasy points in every game this season and is coming off a 20 fantasy point performance with 9 receptions on 11 targets for 77 yards and a touchdown to lead the Commanders. I know it feels weird turning to Logan Thomas, but oddly enough, when he's healthy and under somewhat stable quarterback play, he has been reliable. Quite frankly, he's only really had 1 bad game this season. He's been a top 12 option every single week outside of the week that they played Kansas City, and again, that is understandable. And he's well-rounded. He's a red zone threat, so he can have his day saved by a touchdown. He can have a strong day through good target share. And he's got a matchup against an Atlanta defense that has been very tight end friendly this season. Dalton Schultz just had 19 fantasy points against Atlanta. Logan Thomas has top 10 potential yet again this week. He is a solid play. Number 6, KJ Osborne. Full disclosure, the majority of the players on this list have very fluid rankings. It's a list based heavily off of injuries, so just be sure to adjust players based off the injury severity, because I don't have that right now, so things could be adjusted later on. And KJ Osborne is one of those players. Justin Jefferson injured his hamstring on Sunday, and as of the filming of this video, we don't know exactly how severe it is. Jordan Addison is very high rostered, but KJ Osborne is very available and pretty much everywhere. Oddly enough, Osborne actually plays ahead of Jordan Addison. I don't have the snaps for week 5 yet, but Osborne has never played less than 83% of snaps, while Addison has been in the 50 to 70 range. That is not unusual for a rookie, and Addison does have the higher value touches. But all of this is to say that you shouldn't underestimate the value that Osborne could add to your fantasy lineup if Jefferson is out for an extended amount of time. Osborne has 2 touchdowns on the year and saw 9 targets on Sunday, and Osborne has had 5 double-digit fantasy points last year, including a 31-point performance. Addison is the higher value player for sure, but he's not on waivers. Osborne is a guy who is proven and you gotta grab him. He's a plug and play kind of guy if Jefferson is out. Number 5, Curtis Samuel. I don't understand it and I don't agree with it, but it is 2023 and Curtis Samuel should actually be rostered in your fantasy league. As much as I hate to say it, Samuel is the wide receiver 2 in this Washington offense, an offense that will keep on producing volume through the air as they're just not a good team. The offense that Eric Bieniemy brought over from Kansas City is creating the same issue that you have with wide receivers in Kansas City. The ball is spread around across multiple receivers. And despite the pass volume, there's no true big target hog in this offense. Howell threw 51 passes in week 5, and only one player had double-digit targets. That was Logan Thomas. We talked about him earlier. Samuel has been productive and efficient with his targets, and he has rushing upside. He is a weekly flex option, like it or not. Number 4, Amari DeMarado. James Conner suffered a knee injury and was ruled out fairly quickly, and Amari DeMarado stepped in as the lead back and had 10 carries for 45 yards and 1 touchdown with 1 reception for 12 yards. One of the most appealing things about James Conner is the pure volume that he offers based off of being the only running back that will get significant work. When Keontae Ingram was active and serving as the RB2, he still had very little involvement in this offense. It was James Conner that dominated. When Ingram went out, DeMarado stepped in as the RB2 himself, and again, like Ingram, very little involvement. Most of it was James Conner. But if James Conner is out this week and Ingram is unable to return again, the Cardinals' backfield is likely exclusively belonging to DeMarado. The Cardinals face the Rams, who have been decent against the run, but volume is volume, and DeMarado does have some receiving upside. At the time of filming of this video, I don't know the severity of the injury to James Conner, so move DeMarado up or down this list depending on how much time James Conner will miss. Number 3, Dant Foreman. From the doghouse and inactive to potential RB1 for Chicago, Dant Foreman could see the bulk of work for Chicago next week. Khalil Herbert is expected to miss multiple weeks with a high ankle sprain, Roshan Johnson is in concussion protocol, even Travis Homer suffered a hamstring injury. Now, unfortunately, there are no statistics for us to talk about with Foreman because Foreman has been a healthy scratch for several weeks now and hasn't seen action since week 1. But Foreman has been serviceable in the past as long as the matchup was good. He had multiple boom games last year. The Bears play the Vikings this week, and as long as Justin Fields can keep the game close and take advantage of this Minnesota defense, Foreman could be productive in a flex option if he is the only back available. Number 2, Taj Spears. Taj Spears has been on my waiver wire list for several weeks now. I hope you grabbed him because everyone is going to be putting in their claim now and you won't be able to get him on the cheap. It's not a dump your fab completely situation, but the reason why I wanted everyone to pick up Spears early is because I truly believe that he is an elite handcuff and offers standalone value. He's seen a hefty amount of snaps in every single game this season outside of week 2. He's outsnapped Derrick Henry multiple times, and that standalone value finally showed up in week 5. Spears had 7 carries for 34 yards and 4 receptions for 35 yards. To be clear on a couple of things. 1, I don't see Spears as consistently taking over the backfield from Derrick Henry. There will still be games and scripts that favor Henry, and at the end of the day, he is still Derrick Henry. Now, too, I also don't think this is a situation where the Titans trade Derrick Henry because Spears looks good. The AFC South has no true alpha team. Literally any of these teams could win the division, yes, even the Texans. So they have no incentive to trade players away. That is why they signed DeAndre Hopkins. They believe they are the contenders. But Spears is still an excellent add. He is an elite handcuff and he offers standalone value on a weekly basis. Just be realistic and do not dump all your fab on him. Number 1, Roshan Johnson. I talked about this earlier when we went through Dant Foreman, but we'll go over it again really quickly. Khalil Herbert suffered a high ankle sprain and could miss multiple weeks. We've seen before with high ankle sprains that missing a month is very realistic. That means it is Roshan Johnson's time to shine. Only problem, Roshan left the game in week 4 with a concussion. Now usually we can mark out a player for a week when he goes down with a concussion, but because the concussion happened on a Thursday night, Roshan has several extra days to recover, increasing his chances to return in week 6. But even if he can't suit up, which is why we were also adding Dant Foreman in that event, it's unlikely that Herbert returns in week 7, so you may not be grabbing Roshan for this week specifically, but you are grabbing him for week 7, 8, and potentially 9, depending on how much time Khalil Herbert misses. You want to grab him and hold him because when he comes back, he will be the lead back. Even if Foreman performs well in what should be a good matchup against Minnesota, Foreman hasn't played a single snap since week 1. It is tough to imagine that a single week pushes Roshan Johnson out of the role that he has earned. You need to add Roshan Johnson. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. And remember, if you want a chance to win a glorious 36-inch fantasy championship trophy for your league, courtesy of our good friends at Trophy Smack, the #1 destination for epic fantasy tournament trophies, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize.